The haunting secrets of Mickey Mouse, for shocking tales at midnight, when the clock strikes 12, the happiest place on earth turns into a playground of nightmares. Dark shadows slither through the alleys, strange whispers float on the wind, and the ear-piercing laughter of Mickey Mouse echoes unsettlingly in the silence. Tonight, for chilling tales reveal truths that are better left hidden, and they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about that lovable rodent. The first tale is about a child who, after visiting the park, swore they saw Mickey Mouse in the dead of night. Not just the cheerful character, but a twisted, haunting version corrupted by darkness. Instead of a carefree gleam in his eyes, there was a hollow void, like he was searching for something lost. The child claimed Mickey pointed right at them. "He knows my name." They screamed, and neighbors reported hearing frantic rattling at their windows, all while the child slept soundly, dreaming, or perhaps, trapped in a nightmare. As word spread, whispers grew louder. People were glued to their screens, sharing stories about families who mysteriously vanished after spending too long at the park. "It's a curse," one woman mouthed through trembling lips, her eyes wide as saucers. "Once you enter, there's no guaranteed way back." The tension in the air thickened as the neighborhood gathered to share more. A faint crackle filled the atmosphere, weighty with fear, as the moonlight revealed silhouettes of those who, long ago, crossed paths with Mickey and were never seen again. The tension snapped back like a rubber band. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room grew even quieter as they shared their most spine-chilling experiences. A man leaned in, white knuckles gripping the edge of the table, recounting a sighting he claimed to have had. Down a darkened street, Mickey stood alone, a silent figure aglow under a flickering streetlight. But it wasn't merriment that radiated from him, it was menace. His expression was twisted, a mixture of playful malice as he beckoned forward with a gesture that promised more than just a fun day at the park. A collective intake of breath filled the room. Were they equally fascinated and terrified? Just as the conversation spiraled deeper into darkness, a sudden crash cut through the tension, making everyone jump. A shadow flitted past the window. Heartbeats raced. Was it just the wind? Or something else watching from the dark? Each person held their breath, straining to listen as the sounds of the night faded into an eerie stillness, leaving only questions dangling in the air like unspoken secrets. What was lurking in the shadows? And would anyone dare to find out? A chill coursed through the room, wrapping its icy fingers around their throats. Conversations halted, eyes darting toward the window. Outside, the night seemed darker, impenetrable, a deep void where danger lurked just beyond sight. Then, without warning, another sound broke the oppressive silence, a soft, unmistakable chuckle. It was low, playful, yet so deeply unsettling it sent shivers racing down their spines. A woman gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "Did you hear that?" The man with white knuckles straightened, his face paling. "We should leave, now." But another voice, bold and challenging, echoed through the room. "What if it's just our imaginations? We can't let fear dictate our lives." A young man with fiery determination stood up, clutching an old, battered flashlight like it was a weapon. "I'll go check." Gasps of protest filled the air. "You can't. It's dangerous," cried a voice from the back. But the bold young man shrugged off the warnings like tattered clothing. With each step he took towards the door, the atmosphere thickened, pressing in on the group like a suffocating fog. A few dared to follow him, their hearts beating erratically, fear battling the thrill of the unknown. Together, they peeked through the door, the dim light from inside casting long shadows as they stepped into the night. Outside, the park was eerily quiet, the kind of stillness that hinted at the dormant chaos beneath the surface. Shadows danced across their faces as flickering lights from street lamps dimmed and brightened, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Suddenly, a rustling drew their attention. They turned towards the sound. Was someone lurking just beyond the reach of the light? Each step they took was cautious, deliberate, as they crept forward, pulses racing. Maybe it's just a raccoon, someone muttered nervously. But deep down, they all knew it wasn't animals lurking here. The very ground felt alive beneath their feet, as if it were breathing, throbbing with a heartbeat synchronized with their own rising dread. The flashlight beam danced anxiously over the ground, illuminating the park's eerie playground. Plastic toys, once vibrant, now lay cracked and faded, almost like gravestones for the forgotten laughter they once embodied. Then, abruptly, a familiar silhouette emerged from the shadows, a figure unmistakably that of Mickey Mouse. But this version was no mere cheerful mascot. The character's face wore a twisted grin, dark eyes glimmering with an unspeakable hunger. "Join me," he beckoned, his voice slithering through the air. "You've only just begun to play." A wave of nausea washed over the group. The young man, transfixed by the ghastly sight, stepped forward, the others frozen behind him, their breath caught in their throats. But just as he reached out, as if entranced, Mickey's laughter echoed again, louder, a chilling sound designed to unravel sanity. It shattered the moment. The group turned to flee back towards the safety of the building, heart rates skyrocketing. "Did you see that?" one of them exclaimed, eyes wide with terror. "We can't go back. He'll follow us." Panic gripped them all as they scrambled back toward the door, but the laughter trailed them like a ghost, promising to haunt their every move. They stumbled inside just as the laughter morphed into a deep growl, vibrating through the walls. Amanda, a quiet voice just at the back, shivered. "What if?" Before she could finish, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into a pitch-black darkness. And then, in the depths of the void, something whispered a chilling promise that sent ice down their spines. Let the games begin. What had they unleashed? What darkness awaited them? They could only wonder, hearts racing, as the very foundation of their reality seemed to shift beneath them. The silence that followed the whisper felt heavy, as if the air itself was being sucked out of the room. Each one of them stood paralyzed, pinned by a fear that was palpable and suffocating. It took a moment for someone to find their voice. "I can't breathe," Amanda finally gasped, clutching her chest as if she could somehow calm the pounding of her heart. "Turn on the flashlight," someone shouted, their voice cracking. The young man who had first ventured outside gripped the battered flashlight tightly, fumbling with the switch as terror boiled in the pit of his stomach. Light flooded the room with a warm glow, dissipating the shadows momentarily. Yet, it felt like a thin veil, barely obscuring the threat that loomed just beyond sight. "Did that really just happen?" a boy murmured, skepticism creasing his brow. It seemed impossible, absurd. But deep down, he could still feel the creeping dread coil around his spine. Just as they began exhaling, a sickening thud resonated from the darkness outside. They all flinched, faces reflecting a collective horror. What was that? The sound was followed by a series of short, unhinged laughs, warping into a grotesque mockery of joy. Each laugh pierced through them like needles. Clutching each other, terror-stricken eyes sought reassurance, but found only fear mirroring back. "Maybe it's just the wind," said someone desperately, as if hoping to convince themselves more than anyone else. "Or a trick of the light," another added, her voice trembling. But everyone knew the truth. There was something outside with intentions that twisted their imaginations into dark realities. The laughter faded for a moment, only to return like a malevolent symphony conducting their doom. "Whatever it is, we have to get out of here," the young man said, his tone shifting to one of determined urgency as he stepped towards the exit. But just before he could reach for the door, all the lights flickered again, plunging them into a dizzying darkness punctuated only by an unsettling breath that rumbled from deep within the shadows. "What if we're trapped?" Amanda's voice broke, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "What if we can't escape?" "Then we fight," shouted the bold young man, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline, eyes fierce with defiance. He swung the beam towards the door, illuminating the panic-stricken faces around him. "We can't let it win." Before they could formulate a plan, the door rattled violently, as if something or someone was trying to force its way in. Desperate cries echoed as they all stepped back, hearts racing, trapped between their instincts and the pressing darkness. The laughter morphed once more, a mocking sound full of glee mingled with madness. "Don't you want to play with me?" It crooned, a familiar but twisted echo of a beloved childhood figure. "Stop it!" Someone screamed, hands pressed against ears, wanting to block out the sound, but it seeped into their very bones. The air felt electric, heavy with dread, as another horrendous thud resonated through the door. It splintered slightly, as an otherworldly shape pressed against it, solid and menacing. The flashlight flickered, the beam stuttering in and out, each flicker unveiling that same grinning face with edges sharpened and eyes glowing like molten coals. "Join me," it whispered, and just like that, they were faced with the truth of what they had unlocked. Fear turned to adrenaline, igniting a primal instinct to survive. They had to find a way out, and fast. Because whatever dark force had slithered out of the shadows was now ready for its game, turning their childhood memories into a waking nightmare. But before they could make their escape, a shadow detached from the depths of the darkness, stepping into the disturbing light of the flashlight. It was not just one figure but many, each shadowy character embodying twisted reflections of themselves, inviting them deeper into despair. "What now?" Someone whimpered, their voice barely above a whisper, and as the shadows advanced, curling and swirling around the group, the sickly sweet laughter crescendoed into a cacophony of crazed delight. They were no longer just spectators, they were players, bound by the terms of a game they never wished to join. What twisted trials awaited them? The real game had only just begun. The shadows moved closer, each one shifting and swirling like dark smoke. Faces twisted into grotesque mimics of the group's own. Laughter bounced off the walls, unsettling and chaotic. Their hearts raced in sync, terror threading through their veins like ice. "Back! We have to move!" The young man shouted, wielding the flashlight as if it were a blade. He pointed it towards the door, his breath coming in short bursts. The beam illuminated the door's wood, splintered, a testament to the violent force outside. Where do we go?" Amanda's voice trembled as she stumbled backward, trapped between horror and the urgent need to escape. "Through the windows!" A girl cried out, eyes wide and frantic. The thought sent a shiver down their spines, but the heavy thudding at the door made it clear that staying put wasn't an option. "Let us break them," he urged, and they rushed toward the nearest window, their palms clammy and slick. As they pushed against the frame, the laughter rolled in waves, insistent and high-pitched. "You can't leave, not yet. The game needs to begin." "No!" Someone screamed, entirely consumed by nerved panic. "Let us go." With all their might, they shoved against the window, glass rattling uneasily. The shapes in the darkness seemed to inch closer, feeding on their agitation. Each moment stretched, a silent scream enveloping them. Finally, the window groaned and cracked open, the cold night air dragging in scents of damp earth and fear. "Help me!" One boy pulled desperately at the frame, attempting to create an escape route as shards cascaded to the ground. The sound was a sharp contrast to the sugary laughter that enveloped them, merging chaos with a twisted sense of reality. Just as they began to climb through, a figure sprang from the dark, slithering through the shadows like oil. It bore horrible resemblance to each of them, faces contorted into frozen grins, bodies bent in unnatural ways. "You'll never get away!" It hissed, voice dripping with malicious glee. The boy froze, caught halfway out. "What is that?" he stammered, terror freezing him in place. "Don't look. Just go!" the young man shouted, lunging forward to grab his friend's waist. They yanked him free, a rush of wind and screams battering them as the laughter flared anew, mocking their attempt at escape. In the chaos, they stumbled over each other, the flashlight flickering once more. Instinctively, they fanned out, separated and scanning the darkness, suddenly feeling the weight of their solitude. Amanda turned sharply, breath hitching as she saw her reflection lurking in the shadows, pulsating with the laughter. "Stay together!" she screamed, terror creeping back into her voice. "We can't let it divide us." The young man took charge again, each exhale a battle against fear. "We have to find a place to regroup. The hallway down the hall. It might lead to the basement." Panic fueled their legs, and they darted away from the predatory laughter and the pounding door. Each step felt heavier, weighed down by the memories of childhood, innocence stolen and twisted into something unrecognizable. The hallway stretched endlessly before them, flickering with illusions of escape. As they ran, an icy draft swept through, sending chills across their skin. Just as they approached a door at the end, the laughter escalated, a chorus of madness edging closer, each step met with the growing sound of their impending doom. "Don't look back!" the young man yelled, directing his focus straight ahead. But Amanda's eyes flickered for just a second, and the horrifying reflection met hers again, wide-eyed and grinning, beckoning her to join the darkness. They rushed through the door just as a screaming echo amplified their rush. With a quick push, they stumbled into an old basement, the air thick and oppressive, shadows creeping along the walls like predators hunting their next meal. "What is this place?" someone whispered, fear dripping from every word. The question hung in the damp air, heavy and full of uncertainty. As they turned to search for an exit, the door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. The laughter morphed into something more sinister, echoing through the cramped space, warning them that this was only the beginning. Did they step closer to freedom or deeper into their nightmare? The basement smelled of mildew and a sense of forgotten despair. The oppressive darkness seemed to pulse with malice, as if the shadows themselves were alive, watching their every move. Amanda's pulse quickened, each beat a reminder of their fragility as she peered into the void. "Is there another way out?" she asked, her voice trembling on the edge of a scream. "Let me check the windows," the young man shouted, darting towards the far wall. The others followed, glancing back at the door, heartbeats synchronized with the laughter that now danced ominously in the corners of the room. "Don't open it," one of the girls warned. "What if it's another trap?" But the young man was already kneeling by a window, its glass smeared with grime and dust. He wiped a trembling hand against it, revealing the outside world a path lined with trees. Cold wind whipped through the cracks, whispering secrets in a language they couldn't understand. "It's too high," he gasped, frustration threading through his voice. "There's no way to climb out." "No," Amanda began, but the laughter cut through her like a knife, sharper and more piercing than before. Suddenly, the shadows swelled, shifting and converging, and something slithered across the floor, its form undulating and grotesque. It resembled a twisted amalgamation of their fears, their own faces twisted in a sinister grin. "You think you can escape?" it taunted, a voice warped and familiar. "Stay back," the young man shouted, wielding the flashlight like a weapon. A beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating the horror before them. But with each flick of the light, the shadows seemed to twist, multiplying, echoing their screams. The girl gasped, clutching her friend's arm. "What did we do to deserve this? We just wanted to have fun." The weight of her words hung there, a reminder that they stepped through a door marked with innocence, only to stumble into a malevolent realm where rules twisted and light dimmed. As if in answer, the entity crept closer, its mouth opening wider to reveal teeth that resembled their own smiles, the kind from carefree days spent together. "Fun," it echoed, voice layered with their own memories, taunting them. "This is just the beginning of the game." Panic swelled in Amanda's chest. She felt trapped not only by the walls of the basement, but within the confines of her own memories. "We have to fight back. We can't let it take us," she yelled, anger fueling her as she stepped forward. "Fight what?" someone shouted back. It's us." "Exactly," she retorted, desperation turning her voice sharp. "That's what it wants, our fear, our doubt. We have to stand together." The shadows recoiled, swirling like wind around fallen leaves, hesitating at her challenge. Amanda clutched her friends, their hands joined in an unyielding circle. Whatever happens, we face it together. The laughter faltered for a moment, confused as the shadows paused, sensing the shift of energy in the room. They locked eyes, the realization dawning that their greatest strength was not the escape, but the bond they forged through every nightmare. Now! The young man shouted, and they surged forward together, their combined force a surge of hope and unity against the darkness. As they advanced, the shadows writhed as if resisting their light, audibly shrieking in disbelief. Just as they neared the wall, their hands trembling yet resolute, a cold grip yanked at their ankles, pulling one of them down. "Help!" came the muffled cry, desperation mingling with the chaos. "No!" Amanda screamed, pulling back, but the darkness swirled around her, trying to pull her under like a riptide. The laughter crescendoed, shards of panic lacerating at her heart. Was this the moment they all would fall, or was there still a chance for escape? The air grew thick, winding tighter around them like a serpent. They had to make a decision fast, either unite in their desperation or succumb to the game the shadows so wickedly played. "Quick! Find something!" the young man cried, wrenching himself free from the chaos. The fight was slipping away, and the echoes of their past twisted deeper into the night, but they felt it. An energy, a spark. The basement whispered something. Was it a clue? A way out? Just beyond the reaching darkness lay an answer that could break their chains. But would they find it before the shadows consumed them whole? Together! Amanda shouted, voice rising above the clatter, and with that single word, the hope flickered. "Whatever happens next, we will face it as one." But as they reached for that flicker, the room shifted, and all around them, the shadows tightened their grip, whispering secrets from the depths of their laughter. What had they awakened? The answers lay just beyond reach, and each heartbeat counted down to a confrontation. The shadows shrieked in unison, a cacophony of twisted sounds that felt like a dagger to the heart. The dark entity, a reflection of all they feared, lurked closer, an amalgamation of their own haunting laughter and dark pasts. Every whispered word, every self-doubt echoed off the dank walls, threatening to drown them in despair. "Hold on!" the young man yelled, pushing against the encroaching darkness. "We can't let it get to us." Amanda's mind raced. What could they do? The laughter swelled again, drowning her thoughts. Fear clawed at her throat, tightening with every heartbeat. But then she remembered. The whispers, they were saying something. What? One of the girls gasped, her voice barely a whisper. It's a riddle," Amanda exclaimed, forcing her mind to concentrate amid the noise. "There were hints, phrases we heard earlier." The others stared at her, a flicker of hope in their eyes breaking through the blanket of despair. "What do you remember?" the young man said urgently, fear mixing with determination. "Something about needing to confront the darkness, to embrace the light within us," Amanda said, panic giving way to a surge of bravery. "We can't just fight it for the sake of our lives. We have to confront what we've been running from. The shadows, they're formed from our fears, right? We need to own them." The girl next to her nodded, the scrapes of her breath mingling with the oppressive air. "You mean we have to face our darkest memories?" "Yes," Amanda shouted, daring to take a step toward the writhing shadows. "We can't escape if we don't acknowledge that part of who we are." The darkness recoiled slightly, as if wrapping itself in confusion. The laughter dimmed, swirling like a fading storm cloud. As Amanda and the others stepped forward, a warmth began radiating from their linked hands, pushing back against the darkness. Something deep within them began to flicker to life, a flickering flame that began to rise. Suddenly, the howling shadows halted, abruptly transforming into ghostly images of past mistakes, failures, and fears. Each floating visage wore their faces twisted and warped, but it was their eyes haunted and full of regret that shone through. "Look!" one of the girls shouted, her voice shaking. "They're our own fears and they're trapped." "Exactly," Amanda murmured, her heart hammering in her chest. We've been running away from them. But they're part of us. We need to give them voice. They huddled closer, a circle of hearts beating in sync with unwavering resolve. We can't let them control us anymore. The young man declared, eyes fierce. They're just illusions. As they faced the faces before them, Amanda swallowed, feeling the weight of each memory crash over her in waves. You're not me. She cried. You don't define me. Their voices rang out, one by one, each friend shouting their truths. You're not my failure. You don't own my past. I'm not afraid of you. With every declaration, the shadows shrieked, writhing violently as if resisting a pummeled blow. The dark figures began to dissolve, fragments of light breaking through the blackness, transforming tears of pain into flames of hope, but then, just as they began to feel lighter, a final wave of darkness engulfed them, drowning the glimmers of light. The laughter surged back, thunderous and wicked, echoing in torment. You think you can dismiss me? It shrieked, the shadows tightening again, his smirk twisting ever wider. You've not heard the last of your sins. Stay strong. Amanda yelled, digging deeper into her consciousness. We have to hold on. Together. As the shadows seemed to swirl into a cyclone of chaos, the basement walls began to tremble, the ground beneath them shifting in violent protest. Just when it felt like they would be ripped apart, Amanda caught sight of a faint glow on the floor behind her, pulsing like the heartbeat of the soul they were struggling to reclaim. Look! The light! She shouted, eyes afire with renewed resolve. It has to be our way out. But as they turned to it, something unexpected pulled them back into the swirling mass. So eager to escape, but what if the exit demands a price? The space around them buzzed dangerously, the shadows threatening to devour their last chance. The basement shook, and the light flickered. Would they dare to confront whatever price was demanded? Time was running out, and secrets lingered in the air, ready to unleash their final play. The basement quaked, as if it were a living being caught in turmoil, groaning under the weight of dark secrets and unexpressed fears. The light pulsated, a beacon that seemed to mock them, the promise of freedom shining just beyond reach. Amanda felt a cold sweat trickle down her back as the shadows shrieked louder, their hunger palpable. She couldn't shake the feeling that the exit they yearned for came with strings attached, an unseen cost that loomed with dire consequence. Don't lose sight of it. The young man shouted above the chaos, his voice edged with urgency. If we can just reach the light. But every step they took seemed to deepen the shadows' grasp. The faces of their fears twisted and morphed, mocking them with cruel smiles and taunting whispers. Amanda's heart raced, each beat a reminder of what they stood to lose if they failed. What do you think the price is? One of the girls cried, her voice wavering as shadows encroached on her. What could they possibly want from us? Maybe they want our pain, Amanda said through clenched teeth, determination rising within her. Maybe confronting this darkness means letting go of what we've been holding on to. No. The young man's eyes widened. Not our pain. Anything but that. What if it's too much to bear? Tension thickened in the air. Each character in their past, every regret they had buried deep, now clawed to the surface. Amanda squeezed her eyes shut, pushing against the swell of memories threatening to drown her. Listen, she shouted, if we want to move forward, we must be willing to face the very things that haunt us. But we can do it together. We can't turn back now. Together. The others echoed, their voices growing louder. Each promise ignited a flicker of courage buried deep within their souls. It almost felt like rising from the ashes of what had once held them down. That in an audacious surge, Amanda stepped further into the oncoming shadows. As she did, the twisted faces surged closer, each whispering accusations that felt like knives. You are not enough. You will always be alone. You can't escape. No. She screamed, feeling fury and desperation intertwine. I refuse to cower. You are not my truth. With that cry, a crackling wave shot through her, pushing against the suffocating darkness. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if stung by her declaration. It was as if they were shifting, reforming, anxiety mingling with newfound fire. Amanda felt the warmth of her friend's hope wrap around her, illuminating the path ahead. "Embrace it!" shouted one of the others in the group, clasping Amanda's hand tightly. "We own this moment." As they focused, the glow of the light pulsed brighter, threatening to engulf the shadows. A low rumble filled the air, and the walls trembled in protest as if preparing for a cataclysmic change. "Come on!" the young man shouted, the tremor in his voice establishing a heart-stopping urgency. What could be worse than being consumed by these chains? Whatever the price is, we have to be ready to pay it. But even as they charged toward the bright glow, a chilling thought slithered into Amanda's mind: what if the price required more than just confronting their fears? What if it demanded someone's very identity, who they were and all they built? The shadows writhed violently, the laughter escalating into a maddening crescendo. The light beckoned, but the darkness loomed threatening, hungry, insatiable. In the blinding glow, Amanda saw the glimmer of hope, but was it real? Or merely an illusion, like everything else swirling around her? Would they emerge into the light victorious, or would they be swallowed whole by the darkest corners of their souls? Only one way to find out. "Let us go," Amanda urged, pulling her friends forward, racing not just toward the light, but into the chaotic unknown. And just before they could reach out for salvation, the ground beneath them shifted violently. The shadows whispered something chilling: "All secrets will come to light, but will you survive the truth?" They stumbled into the blinding light, its brilliance a sharp contrast to the encroaching darkness. But the ground trembled beneath them like a beast awakening from slumber, and Amanda's stomach lurched as if they were plummeting into an abyss rather than leaping toward freedom. "Hold on!" she shouted, grabbing a hold of the young man next to her. The collapsing floor sent them spiraling downward, the light flickering like a dying candle. "What is happening?" one of the girls screamed, panic piercing through her voice. The shadows writhed above, laughing. Their laughter was grotesque, a cacophony echoing through the chamber like trapped souls lamenting their fate. "Your stories are not over yet," they mocked, the words curling around them like smoke. Amanda's heart thudded painfully in her chest. "We can't let them win. We have to protect each other." She felt the grip of her friends tighten around her, a lifeline against the maelstrom threatening to consume them whole. As they fell, the light began to twist and morph, revealing grotesque visions that clawed at their minds. Each flash exposed their deepest insecurities. Images of failure, loneliness, and betrayal flickered before their eyes. It felt as if the basement itself was unraveling their essence, piece by piece. "Face it. Confront it," Amanda shouted over the growing chaos. The energy surged as each face in her group met their personalized nightmare. A hazy image of rejection danced in front of the girl who had asked about the price. Another boy faced a darker form, an embodiment of regret that sneered at him. "Fight back," Amanda yelled. "Don't let them take hold." With a surge of determination, Amanda focused her energy, reaching deep within herself. "We are not just our fears. We are more," she declared. The air surged with heat, and for a fleeting moment, she felt an unfamiliar power surge through her veins. As if drawn in by her defiance, her friends found their own strength. Shouts of affirmation mixed with cries of their fears filled the room. "I am not alone. And I embrace my scars," echoed in defiance against the creeping shadows. Suddenly, the images morphed, shifting from nightmarish visions into vibrant reflections of resilience and dreams. Faced with their truths, the shadows dimmed, faltering in the wake of their collective courage, but then, a chilling silence fell, almost suffocating. The shadows retreated like a tide, yet Amanda sensed the change deep in her bones. This silence felt like a prelude to something far worse. It was not just a fight against fears, they were in a battle for their identities. What is happening?" the young man stammered, adrenaline still coursing through him as he glanced around anxiously. The overwhelming light seemed to ripple with energy, almost alive with the pulse of their resolve. What if this is just the beginning? Amanda whispered, her heart sinking at the thought. What if escaping means losing who we are? But even as the fear gripped her, a solid wave of connection forged between them. They were stronger together, vulnerability could turn into strength. Let us not think about losing, she said, swallowing hard. Let us focus on what we can gain. We can define who we are, even here. Let us take back our truth. Another voice rang out, infused with raw tenacity. Together. Amanda and the others shouted, the realization ringing clear. They could rewrite their story, draw power from each other, face the darkness and claim the light not as something to escape, but as the essence of their strength, and just as they felt that unity pulse like a heartbeat in the air, a deafening roar erupted from the shadows, dark tendrils lunging toward them with fury. Your truths may glow, but they won't save you from the real cost. The shadows howled, their voices rattling through the air. The darkness surged forward, Amanda braced for impact, adrenaline surging through her. What they were about to face didn't just threaten their past but might unravel their very existence. Stand proud. She yelled. This is where we find out the cost. And then it all faded to black, leaving them teetering on the brink of oblivion. What would they face in the depths of that darkness? Would the truths they claimed be their salvation or their undoing? The silence was suffocating, thick as fog and just as disorienting. Amanda's heart raced, every sound seemed magnified in the darkness. The laughter of the shadows still hung in the air, a ghostly reminder of their presence. She could feel her friends around her, their breaths quick and shallow, but the light that had filled the chamber was now an elusive memory. Is everyone okay? Amanda called out, trying to pierce the stillness, seeking reassurance in their voices. The darkness swallowed her words, offering nothing in return. Where are we? The girl's voice trembled, a raw edge to her fear. What just happened? I don't know, Amanda replied, swallowing hard as dread settled in her stomach. But we can't lose hope. If we stay together. A guttural noise emerged from the void, cutting her off mid-sentence. It was unlike anything they had faced before, a beastly sound rumbling like a storm. Shadows undulated around them, the air crackling like electricity as if the world was about to explode. Together she murmured, half to herself, half to the group. We have to face this. Suddenly, a flicker of light appeared, a small, glowing orb hovering just out of reach. It pulsed gently, inviting and warm, illuminating the surrounding darkness just enough to cast eerie shadows on the walls. For a moment, they were bathed in its glow, a breath of relief flooding through Amanda. Look! She pointed, her voice steadier now. We can follow it. Sensing the urgency, they moved toward the light, hope replenishing their energy. But the shadows twisted, their laughter beckoning. You think light can protect you? They taunted. You're still with us, and we know your deepest fears. They pressed on, the light dancing ahead, weaving through the darkness like a thread of hope. But with each step, chilling images flashed before their eyes, scenes from their past that burned like fresh wounds. Betrayal, failure, all the moments that haunted them wrapped around their minds, trying to anchor them back. No. Amanda shook her head, fighting against the memories. Don't let them do this. They're just illusions. The light flickered more intensely, as if responding to her determination, and she felt a surge of power again, stronger than before. With every ounce of her will, she raised her voice. We've come too far to turn back now. We are not our past. The group echoed her thoughts, like a chorus growing louder, refusing to be drowned by the dark. We are strong. We are here. We are more than this. But as they approached the orb, a new wave of shadows erupted from the walls, a thick and suffocating tide that threatened to snuff out their fragile light. The darkness bore down on them, whispering secrets of despair. You think you're free? We'll tear you apart. You think you're whole? You're just fragments lost in the dark. A piercing scream shattered the air, and Amanda whirled to find one of her friends being dragged away by dark tendrils. Help! Amanda! Please! The terror in her voice sent a jolt of shock through Amanda's heart. No! With pure instinct, Amanda lunged for her friend, grasping her hand just in time. The shadows recoiled, but the grip was tight, and the pull was strong. In that moment, Amanda understood. They couldn't just run. They had to fight, to show the darkness that they wouldn't be consumed. Hold on! She shouted, rallying everyone around. We fight together. We are not letting them take anyone. With renewed tenacity, they formed a circle, clasping each other's hands. The light pulsed erratically, and Amanda leaned into it, drawing strength from each person around her. 1, 2, 3 together. Together, they shouted, breathing life back into the orb. It flared brighter, pushing against the encroaching darkness. And just as it seemed they might break through, a dark roar enveloped them again, a menacing promise that this was just the beginning. Your truths are nothing but hollow echoes. The shadows howled, their voices rising in an unholy chorus. And as the light waned, Amanda felt the ground shift again beneath them. Would they overcome this new wave of darkness? Or would it claim them once more? Their fates lay in the balance, teetering on the edge of everything they feared. In that moment of chaos, the air thickened with tension. Amanda's heart hammered against her ribcage, a wild drumbeat of desperation and courage. The shadows, relentlessly clawing at their ankles, whispered dark promises of despair, but she refused to let them win. Together! She shouted, voice cracking with intensity. We can't just survive, we must claim our truth. The ground shook violently as if the darkness itself rebelled against her defiance. Instinctively, they squeezed each other's hands tighter, forming an unbreakable chain of resolve. Everyone, focus on the light. The young man yelled, eyes blazing with conviction. It's the only way out. Each friend turned inward, visualizing the shadows that haunted them, the fears that had taken root deep in their heart. Memories of loss, rejection, and failure surfaced like storm-tossed seas. No! Amanda cried, a sudden clarity washing over her. We will not be defined by our past. Driven by shared determination, they faced the tide of darkness together. You're just an illusion. One of the girls shouted, her voice steady. You're not our truth. With each chant against the encroaching shadows, the light flickered with life, pulsing brighter, almost as if it recognized the warmth of their belief. The walls trembled as shadows twisted and writhed, angered by their collective strength. Your screams won't save you. The shadows howled. You're nothing but echoes. Yes, echoes. Amanda exclaimed. But echoes can become a symphony. With renewed power, they stood firm, focused on the glowing orb. It shimmered, showering them with warmth, nourishing their spirit like sunlight breaking through clouds. Together. They breathed in unison, lungs full with the promise of freedom. In a moment of clarity, like a breath of fresh air piercing a suffocating storm, they surged toward the light, each pulse drawing strength from one another. The shadows shrieked, recoiling, twisting back as if burned by the radiance of their bravery. I am brave. I am loved. I am enough. One by one, they began declaring their truths, voices intertwining and swelling into an anthem that filled the basement with confidence. The shadows screamed in fury, losing their grips, slipping further into the folds of darkness. Now! The young man urged, stepping forward, the orb reflecting in his determined eyes. With one final push, they lunged toward the sacred light. It engulfed them in a blinding brilliance, shadows flinging away like fading memories. Amanda felt herself lifted, her friends beside her, all intertwined in a cradle of hope. The cacophony of whispers faded, replaced by a serene silence, soft and inviting. As they tumbled into the light, it washed over them, warm and comforting. Each heartbeat hummed with relief. They had confronted the shadows, the truths, and emerged unscathed. With gasps of wonder, Amanda and her friends stood in a sun-drenched meadow, colors bursting vibrantly around them. Laughter spilled from their lips, not out of delirium, but pure joy, a celebration of survival and truth. "We did it!" one girl exclaimed, a grin splitting her face. "We faced the darkness. We're free!" Amanda echoed, laughter bubbling up around them. But then the laughter faded, replaced by a solemn acknowledgement of the journey they had taken. Memories lingered in the air, not burdens, but reminders of their strength. They had transformed fear into flames, shadows into light. "I guess we learned we're stronger than we think," the young man said, looking at his friends, his voice thick with emotion. They all shared a moment of unity, the bonds they forged glowing brighter than the radiant landscape before them. As they stood together, a rustling came from the trees, and from its shelter stepped a figure. A familiar shadow that now took form, a reassuring figure, smiling down at them. Amanda felt warmth envelop her heart, knowing that she had not only faced her demons but had conquered them, hand in hand with those she cherished. "Thank you," she whispered, eyes sparkling. Together, they shared a triumphant silence, realizing they would carry past lessons as strength rather than anchors, stepping forward into a world wherein those shadows would never again hold dominion. And so, they turned away from the past, a smile lighting their faces as they walked into their future. Free, empowered, together. Remember, friends, darkness can be faced, and shadows can reveal the brightest truths. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss other gripping tales. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread the joy. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what lies ahead, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a light in their lives. Your support matters, and together, we shine bright.